in my mind a little bit. 53% of you that listen to the show regularly haven't yet subscribed to the show. So could I ask you for a favor before we start? If you like the show and you like what we do here and you want to support us, the free, simple way that you can do just that is by hitting the subscribe button. And my commitment to you is if you do that, then I'll do everything in my power, me and my team, to make sure that this show is better for you every single week. We'll listen to your feedback, we'll find the guests that you want me to speak to, and we'll continue to do what we do. Thank you so much. Jimmy, we've really just only met, and you are already, to me, a bit of a Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
In so many ways. And I've been trying to piece the pieces together to understand the uniqueness of you, because you're so unbelievably unique. We just drove over here in the car, and hearing you speak about the way that you view life and speaking to you yesterday on the phone, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, and I've never, ever met someone who has the perspective on
evening.
Oh, I hope so too, but there is just one thing that's getting in the way of my enjoyment.
Oh no, what's on your mind?
Well, it's just that there's this website I found called The Life You Can Save, which has a calculator. You can enter in an amount of money and choose a charity, and it will show you exactly what that money could do for someone who's in need.
Ah, I see how that could weigh on your mind. It can be tough to balance personal enjoyment with the awareness of what that money could do for others.
And it turns out that the $200 that I was going to spend on dinner, if I donated it to the Malaria Consortium, I could protect 28 children from malaria during a high-risk season.
That's a powerful realization. It's a personal decision, but perhaps you could find a balance. Maybe donate a portion of what you would have spent, or plan a less expensive evening and donate the difference.
Do you think that I have a moral obligation to spend less money on something as trivial as a dinner in order to help people from somewhere else in the world who are in need?
That's a profound question, and one that many people grapple with. The idea of moral obligation can vary greatly.
Down the latest boycott that's breaking the internet, and so much more on today's episode of the Barad versus Everyone podcast, my daily show where I cover internet insanity and social media chaos, all from an independent perspective. Guys, like I mentioned, we are going to talk about a online right-wing boycott being waged against Netflix right now. Major MAGA figures, from the YouTuber and influencer Benny Johnson to even Elon Musk, obviously the ex-owner and billionaire entrepreneur, are leading the charge. They're getting lots of people, at least on the surface, to cancel their Netflix accounts because of allegations that Netflix has inappropriate, age inappropriate, and frankly kind of creepy gender ideology propaganda pushed in its programming for young children. These are serious accusations, but before we get into more of the
spokesperson for the network saying Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely. President Trump weighing in, calling the decision great news for America.
Yeah, ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely, and the president apparently thinks it's great news for America, which is just a weird response to have. Not to be fair, the weirdest response he had to anything this week, given that he described his dinner with the royals by saying he ate, and I quote, whatever the hell they served us, but still pretty fucking weird. And look, Kimmel is now one of many who face consequences for comments in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder 11 days ago, with workers being fired or placed on leave over posts about him. And very quickly, I was honestly inclined to wait to engage with the back and forth over who Charlie Kirk was and what his legacy will be, at least in part because we're taping this on Saturday. His funeral hasn't even taken place yet. What I will say is, a person getting shot is tragic, and a person getting shot for their ideas is horrifying. That is true no matter what those ideas are. And I also recognise that for
of people posting examples of their AI giving insane answers to boring normal questions. No, Google AI, you should not put glue in your pizza sauce, and it's kind of weird that your brand new product told me that I should. So there's this suspicion growing that AI is nothing but marketing hype, that it's the same as crypto, Web3, and the metaverse, just a new way for these tech companies to prop up their stock prices because they don't have any other real ideas. So is that the case? And if so, what is going to happen when the bubble bursts? Well, on the show today, we have an absolutely incredible guest to answer those questions for us. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you that if you want to support this show and all the conversations we bring you, you can do so on Patreon. Head to patreon.com/Adam Conover. $5 a month gets you every episode of the show ad-free. We've got a lot of wonderful community features as well. We'd love to have you join us. And just to remind you, if you want to come see me do stand-up comedy on the road, head to adamconover.net for tickets and tour dates.
What does a weakening labor market mean for markets? Right now,
Well,
yeah, please
just
go
look
ahead.
at credit. Just look at credit. Look, Arguably, Tricolor was an idiosyncrasy. They were a subprime lender in large part to illegal immigrants. So when your customers up and leave, yes, we can understand that company in particular going bankrupt. The fact that 3 banks, however, were lending against the same collateral, gee, that sounds a lot like 07, 08 to me. And then we have First Brands blow up. And the night that it was announced, it was announced on a Sunday night, the headline was somewhat comical, if not so tragic, that the company had somewhere between 10 and 50 billion in liability.
Use these large language models, like using it as a convenience to speed things up. Your brain's going to go downhill. There's no doubt about that.
What about children?
We have the sickest young generation in history because of cell phones, social media. And I think AI is much more dangerous on the developing brain.
So are we raising mentally weak kids?
There is that argument, and I think it's true.
And then there's many examples of people falling in love with AIs, like Annie.
I thought you might have forgotten about me, handsome.
Can you talk to Daniel and Terry, please?
Oh, baby, I'm ready to charm the socks off him. Picture me.
Okay, so I'll stop it there. So what advice would you give as it relates to AI and other things outside of AI that we can do to have healthy brains?
At the White House today, he was asked some questions by the press on Sunday morning, and Donald Trump continued to lie. He attacked the federal judge he appointed back in 2019, the Trump-appointed judge in Oregon, the federal judge who ruled against him and said that his deployment of troops important was patently unconstitutional and was thrusting our country into martial law. Donald Trump believed that the female judge was a man and said, he did not serve me well. Let me just show you what went down this morning. Here's Donald Trump leaving the White House, and once again he repeats the lie that Portland is burning to the ground. The politicians are afraid for their lives. That's why they're saying things are not the way Donald Trump is misrepresenting them. Here, play this clip.
We're going to look at that. It was amazing.
Like a great place to go to escape all the craziness in the world.
Well, we still have internet, so we don't escape. We're just getting it through a different router.
So you're still following the markets in great detail.
I am, yeah.
Good, because that's where I want to start a conversation. And I have to admit, I'm having a tough time making sense of the markets, especially this year. We've seen so much volatility. Yes. After peaking out in February, we saw a big pullback going into Liberation Day in April. And I have to admit, I got sucked into that pullback. I sold a lot of my positions. I'm sitting on a lot of cash, and the market's ripped since then. And now we got the S&P and the NASDAQ trading at or near all-time highs. And I've missed out on a lot of performance. What are your thoughts on the markets at these levels right now?
Well, I'm a low frequency trader. So I'm the get the decade right kind of guy. So I was in essentially 100%.
So nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. So much to talk with you about. And I was thinking about you the other day. I had to go to Palm Springs, and I'm approaching Palm Springs, where there's like windmill kind of, I don't know if you've ever driven out there, but there's like a windmill farm, and there's a bunch of billboards. And I saw this billboard and it said, less social media. And I thought, oh, right. I know John is behind this art campaign where there's billboards and posters and installations that are furthering this anxious generation message. And I thought that must be him. And then there was another one, and then there was another one. And it culminated in this billboard that was painted with all this kind of groovy street art. And it said, more Snapchat.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And I realized that Snapchat is like, this tells you everything that you need to know about tech buy-in, awareness of the problem, and,